without further ado, our theme for Pathfinders this year is called Project 3535, and it's based off the verse Exodus 35:35, which goes like this: He has filled them with the skills to do every sort of work. So we're going to focus a lot on discovery, creativity, and of course service, which service has been one of our tenets for quite some time. So we're going to be looking at things that are a little more on the artistic side this year, and creating and making some different things, as well as discovering some new things. So I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page, that Facebook is going to be our primary method of communication. So I think all of you are members on our Facebook page, but that's how we will communicate. So I'm just going to encourage you that before you leave in the car to go to a Pathfinder event, make sure that you check Facebook to make sure there haven't been any changes, because we all anticipate many changes, and we're just gonna have to be flexible this year. I plan on giving some minute message videos about every single Pathfinder event that we're gonna have in the fall, just so that all parents are very much aware of exactly what's going to be happening, exactly what we're going to be doing to protect your children, and exactly what you need to do and bring. So be looking for this graphic minute message about every single event that we do. Also, we do have our Google Calendar, and it looks like this, and that link is always the same, and I post it periodically on our Facebook page, and it outlines everything that's coming up. There's also on the top of the calendar right here, there's a direct link to our club handbook, which has all of the information in it that we're going to go over this evening. So that's the way we'll keep our calendar straight. Okay, so our monthly schedule is going to look similar to last year, but with a few tweaks. So the first Wednesday of the month, instead of home group, we're going to have what's called small group meeting, which I'll explain in more detail as we go along. The first Sabbath, we'll continue to help with church service. Whoever feels comfortable coming to church in person, we'll grab your kids and have them help in whatever way we can. Right now, we've just been doing song service because there, of course, isn't any offering being taken up right now. And also, we've been doing some children's stories, so we'll continue that. And then the second Wednesday of the month will continue to be our service night. And on service night, we'll be doing pretty much everything outdoors and some of the same kinds of things. We'll be doing recycling. We'll do that a little bit different, though, so to limit touching of things. We're going to continue our letter writing campaign that we did when we were virtual in the spring. We're going to continue to help with the school flower bed and the things we help with at the school. And then the other Wednesdays of the month, 2nd, 3rd, and 5th, if there is one, will be our Create and Discover meetings, where we'll be doing all of those fun, creative, and discovery type honors, and that will be out pretty much outdoors always. Once a month, we're going to plan on having a Discovery Day on Sunday, and that will be for probably 3 or 4 hours on a Sunday. We'll go somewhere outdoors and do something. And then, of course, the 2nd and 4th Sabbath, we'll be doing our Curbside Kids Day at Sulphur Springs, and we'll continue with just one family at a time going to help at Sulphur Springs, and just like we've been doing. So we are going to try to go back face-to-face, but we will be entirely outdoors August through November. So everything will be done outdoors. And then we'll go back to virtual at Thanksgiving through mid-January. And our reasoning for that is we figure that people are going to be traveling and seeing people outside of their normal routine. And so we just want to limit that exposure. So we're just going to go back virtual for that. And then when it comes to mid-January, we'll reevaluate. Probably we'll just continue virtually. But we will reevaluate and kind of see how things are mid-January and go forward from there. But that's our plan, August through mid-January. Mostly outdoors and then virtual. So we do have our point system. That's going to stay the same. Our points are based on the Pathfinder Law and Pledge, and the kids get points in these different categories. The way they redeem points has changed just a little bit. We will have a quarterly reward event of some kind that's COVID appropriate. We'll have our store, of course, they can buy things with points. And then they can also convert their points into money to put on their account, like to pay towards their Pathfinder bill. And one new thing we have added this year, and that's right here at the bottom of this slide, if a Pathfinder has an outstanding balance on their account, then half of their points are going to be automatically used towards account credit quarterly. So our dress code is going to stay exactly the same. On Wednesday nights, we'll wear our navy blue shirts. When we go to Sulphur Springs outreach, we'll have our lime green Sulphur Springs shirt. When we do first Sabbath of the month at church, we'll wear our khakis and polo shirts. And then our dress uniform will be for formal occasions, which even our investiture service this year, we're going to do casual because it's going to be outdoors, which I'll go into more in a little bit. So no real changes to dress code. So the cost for Pathfinders is $100 per child, and we're going to be switching to online payment for that. So you can go to our church website, bentonvillear.adventistchurch.org, and right here at the top it says online giving, and if you click that, a little tithe envelope will pop up, and you're going to select this category right here that says Pathfinder Fund, and that's where you'll do your any payments that need to be made for Pathfinders. That's where you'll do it from now on. So and we're not trying to go cashless. I mean, so like if you want to give us cash, we'll definitely take it, but this is just going to be a little bit more hands-off for us. So we're going to try and switch to that. So we will, of course, have payment plans available, just like always. And we're doing a discount this year. So if you pay the entire lump sum by August 31st, you can have a $10 discount per kid. So it would just be $90 per kid. But if you want to do a payment plan of a different increment, whatever, we're super flexible about money, and we never want finances to be a deterrent for your kid to join Pathfinders, ever. So if that's a problem, like, don't let it be, because it's not one for us. And we're adding some things to what this covers this year. So your kids are going to get, of course, all their fees. That includes all their shirts and uniforms as they need them. If they grow out of them, we'll switch them out for free. They'll get their all their investiture patches and so forth. That just comes, they get that. The things we're adding this year is a supply pack and a carry bag, which I'll explain more later, and a portable chair that they'll use. So that's added to what that's going to include this year. Okay, so I'm going to go into specifically our COVID response plan and what we're going to do to make sure that we are doing our best to keep your kids safe. And you know, safety is our top priority. And our motto, and you've probably heard us say it before, is that we don't take chances with other people's kids, period. We intend to err on the side of caution in everything that we do. We intend to follow all CDC guidelines, any local guidelines, anything that the conference puts out. We intend to follow all of that because we don't take chances with other people's kids. So that is going to be our kind of our pillar for this. So as far as attendance, we would like your child not to come to Pathfinders if, of course, they've been diagnosed or exposed to anyone with COVID. If they have any of the symptoms, of course, this is just, you know, like usual. If they're exposed to someone who is sick or has the flu or is not feeling well, if somebody in your family is having any kind of those symptoms, we would prefer they don't come. Also, if you've traveled outside of your normal routine, or if someone has traveled to you outside of your normal routine, will you please, we ask that you please disclose that to us, and we'll deal with that on a case-by-case basis. But overall, we just want to err on the side of caution with this. So, you know, if somebody isn't feeling well, or you feel like you fall into any of these categories in any way, shape, or form, please err on the side of caution. So our primary concern will be to make sure that we do social distancing, and we have a smaller group, so that's going to be a lot easier for us to make sure that we have the 6 feet of social distance between our kids. We're also going to ask that people stay with their family unit. So I'll give you an example. You know, Beth is my sister, and outside of Pathfinders, we do see each other and are in each other's presence, but she is not in my family unit. She doesn't live in my house. So during Pathfinder functions, Beth and I will be social distancing from each other because we're not in the same family unit. So we're going to ask that of everyone. Even if you're letting your kids hang out with some other Pathfinder kids outside of Pathfinders, we're still going to ask that at Pathfinder times they social distance and stay, you know, with their family unit. So yeah, I think that makes sense. So we're going to ask, of course, to refrain from touching of any kind. So that's going to be our primary defense mechanism, is to just maintain that social distance. And all of the staff have been trained on this, and we're all on the same page as far as making sure that we're all, not just the kids, but all of us are following these guidelines. We will be wearing masks indoors and anywhere outdoors that we can't social distance. Now, I know kids are going to be wearing masks at school all day, and so we want them to have that break for that mask. That's why we're going to be outdoors, and that's why we're going to be so stickler about the social distancing, is so they can have that mask break. But if a kid has been reminded once and they're still having trouble social distancing, then they may have to put on a mask while we're outside, because like I said, we want to err on the side of caution. So anytime we're indoors, masks will be required. But otherwise, outside they won't be, unless we're having social distancing problems. So like I said, all of our Pathfinder meetings and functions are going to be outdoors through mid-November. If there's inclement weather, if we have rain or something, we'll assess the situation. The school at the church has offered to let us use the gym. So depending on the situation, we may move the meeting into the gym if it's raining. But we would like to do that limitedly. So we'll assess and decide, is it safe to move it in, or should we just cancel for tonight? So that's where some of these things we're gonna have to be flexible and just pay attention to Facebook for any quick changes and things like that. So we used to have a home group on the first Wednesday of the month where we came to my house. We will not be doing that anymore. Now we're going to have small group meeting, and it will be outdoors, and it will still be the night when they work on their investiture achievement classes, and they will be divided up into groups with their teacher, and there'll be small groups, like maybe 4 or 5 of them in a small group. And they'll be in that same small group the whole, like, for the year, pretty much. So it'll be that same group of people, and it will look something like this. We will go to some park or somewhere for small group night, and they will sit with their small group in their portable chair that they brought, and they will sit 6 feet apart in a circle and just remain in that spot while they're working on their investiture achievement classes. So that's what we're planning to do on that night. And we're planning to try and do like a different park every small group night. So it's kind of interesting and going to a different place, but it will be outdoors and all spread out. They will not be sharing any materials. So part of that registration fee this year is going to get each of your kids a supply pack. So it's going to be a bag, and in it will be their worship things, their notebook, their pens, their colored pencil, anything they need for Pathfinders will already be provided in that bag, and they will keep that bag with them. So they'll take it home with them and bring it back with them to Pathfinders. We're not going to hold those bags for them. And we'll also give them a portable chair if they need it. So if you guys in your family already have portable chairs, you could just use those, or if you want to borrow one from the club, we'll issue one. So that's part of your registration fee too. And so pretty much every time you come to a Pathfinder meeting from now on, your kid's going to need their chair and their supply bag, because we'll be outside. And if they want to sit, they'll need a chair. So we're going to have a check-in procedure. So when you arrive at Pathfinders with your kid, you're going to just pull up and remain in your vehicle. Don't get out of the vehicle. One of the staff members will be wearing a neon vest. That person will be called our safety officer, and they will come to your vehicle, and they'll take your child's temperature via infrared thermometer. They'll ask you a couple screening questions, make sure your kid has their bag in their chair, and then they can get out of the car. And that's just going to help us know that if a kid's out of the car, then they've been screened and they're all good to go. So that's going to be a big difference from what we've done before. And it'll be pretty quick, less than 1 minute per family to pop those temperatures and ask those questions, and then they can get out of the car. And if you don't see the safety officer when you arrive, you can just text me or whoever's number you have, but they'll be in a neon vest and they'll be standing out there, easy to see. And then our checkout procedure will be, your Pathfinder will be with their small group leader. And that small group leader is going to make sure that your kid gets into your vehicle and not somewhere else or run off or whatever. So that small group leader, which will be the same person all year long, will be in charge of making sure your kid gets into your car with their own stuff. I already went over supplies. Everybody's going to have their own. We won't be sharing. If there is something additional that we need to pass out to the kid, we'll sanitize it. They'll pick it up and won't give it back. So it'll just be something. If they need a glue stick and we didn't put that in their bag, that will be their glue stick forever, and they'll just keep it in their bag. Also, we are not going to do any food or drinks of any kind this year at all. As far as from the Pathfinder Club, we won't be serving anything. So having a water bottle for your kid to bring for Pathfinders is going to be important. Also, we're going to ask that you don't send food with your kid. There's too much of a temptation for kids to want to share. You know, if you stop at McDonald's and get some French fries before Pathfinder, it's really tempting to want to share those French fries around. So we're just asking that no food be brought, with the exception that if we're on a discovery day or something where whatever event crosses a mealtime and we specifically ask for kids to bring a sack lunch, then that would be the exception to that. But otherwise, we're just going to go with no food and bring your own water bottle. Also, restroom facilities are going to be limited. When we go to public parks or if on a discovery day, most of those restrooms are closed. So you'll have to kind of change your routine and make sure that everybody goes to the restroom before they come to Pathfinder events. Even at the church, I mean, right now the restrooms are gutted down to the studs. So we will have restrooms eventually back at the church, but they're going to be for true emergencies only. And a staff member will go in and sanitize the restroom between each person if that happens. But otherwise, we're just going to, during those minute messages I hand out, that I post on Facebook, we're just going to be reminding everyone to use the restroom before you come to Pathfinders. We're going to encourage everybody to sanitize and wash hands. Anything we're using will be sanitized. Like I said, we're not going to be sharing, but if there's something that needs to be passed out, we'll sanitize it. We're going to give opportunities for hand sanitizing and for washing. For transportation, it's going to be a little different. We're used to meeting at the church, and then we'll take your kid from you and go to wherever we're going. Well, instead, we're going to eliminate that step, and if we're having a meeting at a public park, you're just going to have to bring your kid straight there. And which is pretty much going to eliminate the need for us to be in vehicles outside of our family unit, which is what we want to do. We want to make sure that whoever's in the vehicle is part of that family unit. Now, I could foresee some exceptions to that. If we're at some park and somebody has to go to the bathroom emergency, then somebody's going to have to drive the kid to the bathroom, possibly. So if that's the case, everyone in the car will have a mask on. We'll sanitize their hands before they get in and when they get out. And we'll have to have permission from the parent for that to happen. before we put a kid in a car that's outside of their family unit. Also, to help us social distance, to help us with occupancy requirements, to limit exposure, and to help us if we ever need to contact trace, we're going to respectfully ask that non-Pathfinder members, which means parents, spouses, and siblings, not attend any Pathfinder functions at all. So it will just be the registered Pathfinder members and the registered Pathfinder staff, and that's it. And that's really going to help us make sure that we don't expose your kid to some random somebody more than the group that we know is registered. Now, that may be difficult for some people to swallow. So if you have an extreme problem with that, we will deal with exceptions on a case-by-case basis and try and figure out how to make that work for your family. But like I said, our reasoning behind this is we want to limit exposure. We want to help with social distancing. If we ever had to contact trace, it's just going to make it easier if we stick to our core group. And then, of course, we're going to need everyone to be flexible and patient with us. Things are going to change. We're going to have to deal with things on a case-by-case basis. And we just please ask that you be flexible and patient with us as we figure this out together. Because, you know, this whole pandemic thing is kind of new for all of us. So, okay, so our first two events are registration, which is Wednesday night. If you are brand new to the club, we're going to ask that you come at 6 p.m. If you're a returning member with last name A through L, come at 6:30, or last name M through Z, 7 p.m. That way we're going to kind of stagger and not have everybody there at once. The registration paperwork is online this year. That's exciting. So you can just do that in the comfort of your own home. That link will be posted this evening on the Facebook page. It's a Google form that you fill out for your kids. And just fill that out before you come to registration. It's going to be outdoors at the church, and it will be set up in stations, just like we usually do. So you'll just be dealing with one staff member at a time at each table. We're going to encourage you to know your kids' sizes and measurements before you come, and also bring your own pen. And then next Sabbath is an exciting day. We're going to have investiture and induction. So this is where we give out all the patches and awards and things that your kids earned last year. And we also officially induct all of our new members as part of the club. And that will also be outside at the church. So we want you to bring just your immediate family and bring a chair for each person. We will social distance in family units. So even if you're used to seeing another family outside of Pathfinders, we're going to ask that you stick with your family unit. And how that will work is we'll call up one Pathfinder at a time to the front to recognize them for their accomplishments. There won't be any direct handoffs. We will have things in sanitized Ziploc bags, and they will just collect them off of a table. We will have a Zoom link going for any other family or friends that want to watch the ceremony. And it will be casual since we're going to be outdoors, so just wear your navy blue Pathfinder t-shirts. And remember to use the restroom before you come, because the restroom facilities won't be available.